station there, so you can let me know when it's time. But station there, so you can let me know when it's time. But good afternoon and welcome to UnitedTV. My name is Kemal Erkan. Today is June 27th, and we have another guest on UnitedTV. Last May at the Eurovision Summit, I had an opportunity to speak about sustainable health, and not just from the clinical perspective, but from the system perspective, because today's world, true health and well-being depend on not only a care that's being delivered, but also clean air, clean energy, and livable planet. So we have Andrew Cottone of Aternium, and he is gonna educate us today with clean hydrogen energy. And this is one of the topics that I don't know much about, and it's going to be educational. And I believe a lot of people are going to find a lot of good information from here. Andrew, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm great today. I'm heading down to Florida, so I'm very excited to talk with you, and I'm very excited to get into the sun.
Nice. So Florida is going to be a little bit hot, but it should be okay, though, right?
It is going to be hot, but I'm going to be on the beach with my family.
We hit like 107 last Tuesday, Wednesday. It was extremely hot, and then all of a sudden last night we are down to 70s. So now we have some common friends. They put us together. So we thank Doug, one of our strong supporters, and we believe that there's some benefits for us to bring this topic into our discussion. So every week we actually go through different topics, especially at the 2 p.m. session. So what we have find from different people, different industries, it just grew so quickly. So we are over 150,000 subscribers. So we can hopefully be also your voice for what you do. And since you are going to have a lot of challenges with this new venture. And so we want to start with your earlier business, Adesis. So this is a company that was almost at the level of bankruptcy, and then you took over, turned things over, and you were able to bring this to a national success. And you actually, was it 2023 you sold the business?
2016 we sold the business.
2016, was it that long?
It was, yeah. Okay. Usually the entrepreneur like me gets him or herself thrown out in a year or two.
Okay.
And it's been 9 years.
So like we have to fix the Google search engine. So that's been a while then. But then from that, because that was a lot of challenge because of the process that you went through from the company that has a lot of financial trouble, and then you turn things around. And if you can kind of talk us through your early challenges that you have with Adesis, and how were you able to turn things around?
Well, I think the short answer is people. That's how we were able to turn it around. And it started off in 2001, late 2001. I joined a company, and over the next 9 months, I was promoted to almost running half the company. Mm-hmm. Then the other half of the company came and said, let's steal the technology. He didn't quite say it like this. Let's steal the technology. Let's steal the contracts. Let's steal the people, go down the street and start our own company. They came to me, they said, Andrew, you want to do this? I said, that seems completely wrong. I'm not doing it. Well, they did that. And the owner of the company came to me after we laid off more than half our staff, and he said, I'm too old and tired to rebuild this. You want to buy the company? We have 3 weeks of money in the bank, $1 million in debt. We have no contracts. Naturally, I ran home to my wife, and I said, there's this great company, has 3 weeks of money in the bank, $1 million in debt. Can I have all of our money and buy this company? We had a 2-year-old and we had a 2-month-old. She said, absolutely. I looked behind me to see who she saw. I reminded her that I didn't have any experience. I have a PhD in chemistry, not business. She said, you'll figure it out. So we did. We started with 16 people. And that's what I mean the solution is. We all banded together. We had nothing. We renamed the company Adesis after my wife and 2 of my daughters. And in 10 years, we went from near bankruptcy to selling the company for over $36 million to one of the most exciting technology companies on the NASDAQ, Universal Display Corporation.
Nice. So, as an entrepreneur myself, I know how difficult these challenges can be. And also, sometimes we make things a little bit easier for others, and then they don't realize how difficult the challenges are. So we have something similar to that with our surgery center. This is the one on Folk Road. It's called American Surgery Center. You probably have seen our billboards.
I drove by it.
Yeah.
Now I know.
So this was a business that was founded in 1999, owned by one of the big eye hospitals, Wills Eye, and they were not profitable. So they were losing a lot of money. And one of our surgical groups, and Dr. Erkan, my other manager partner in the surgery center business. So we decided to make an offer to them. So because they keep complaining about how much money they were losing, and we said, okay, if you are losing that much, then why don't we just take over? And we did. So it's 10 years now. So we are building our second surgery center on Route 40. So that used to be my old business office. But while this is happening, a lot of other things are happening. And if you have a good team, things are easier. At least for me, I have a great team. So is it also the case for you?
It is. It absolutely is the case. You have to get that great team. That's what we're doing with hydrogen. That's what you've done. And I think it's also the mindset of the entrepreneur that we need to lead the way. We could have the best ideas, and we could have the best ideas and be very smart people and still fail if you don't have that third ingredient, which is hard work. The willingness to do what it takes. How many hours a day? How many days a week? How many weeks a year?
Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to pay that price? Many entrepreneurs who think they're entrepreneurs aren't willing to answer that call.
Right.
I think you and I are willing to answer that call.
We are.
And then have that team around us
right.
that will hopefully enhance our ideas.
Right. So now from Adesis to Aternium, you went through, it's a change, although maybe industry is still, you are a scientist, and then it's still a scientific industry. So how did you decide to make that change, and what happened? So
the change to Aternium?
Yeah.
I was doing what all cool chemists do. I was sitting on a rooftop deck, drinking a lot of beers, overlooking Lake Zurich, and bemoaning the shortage of heavy water and what are we going to do. And we brainstormed over a lot of beers, and we realized that electrolysis was the answer to a heavy water problem, not for non-nuclear uses. And when I looked at that, and I saw that Rotterdam, Netherlands, was so similar to Delaware, lowest lying country in Europe, lowest lying state in the United States, great access to water, great access to industry, deep water port. I saw the parallels. I said, oh my God, we need to do this in Delaware, and we know how to do it profitably. So it was more of an emotional break for me to leave the company, my only job out of grad school, named after my wife and daughters, to go and found something else.
So I always have a pencil with me, and then today I didn't. So did you take my pencil?
No. I always have a pen and paper with me.
So now this is the hydrogen, green hydrogen, right? So for those who may not know much about it, the clean hydrogen is the hydrogen produced using low or zero carbon methods, and the green hydrogen, blue and gray, are the 3 types. So now going into this, what are you trying to build with this new entity?
So when people talk about what are you trying to build, I think entrepreneurs get it. We're not building buildings. We're not, well, of course I need a facility,
Right.
but I think what we're doing here is building a whole new economic platform for the state of Delaware. And an energy and chemical manufacturing platform that can flywheel into secondary, tertiary industry. So I want to be able to build a whole new economic sector in Delaware. But it starts with that first plant. It starts with a 60 megawatt hydrogen plant where we take water. We can use wastewater in Delaware because our wastewater is very clean. We can take wastewater, pass it over electricity, and hydrogen comes off at the cathode, oxygen at the anode, very pure. We sell that. And we're left with a little bit of heavy water behind, and we know how to mine that. And that's exactly the business plan that we're going to proceed with.
So you have that already, it's kind of like a plant then, like the hydrogen plant, or is it going to be a hydrogen plant?
It will eventually be a hydrogen plant.
Okay.
I need $250 million per plant.
All right, so then I will call my banker right now. So we'll do half of that.
That sounds good.
Now, you were kind of leaning into why you choose Delaware, but is what makes Delaware the right place for this business?
I think it's really the entire Delmarva Peninsula is a really unique, and Delaware in particular has the politics and the permitting that we can move fast, we can move effectively. You can be big and slow like California and survive. But if you're a small state like Delaware, you need to be nimble. And that nimbleness is that secret sauce to how we're going to be successful. So as I look around, we have this area. We have industry around us that uses hydrogen today. So I don't need to wait for 10 or 15 years for the off-takers to come. They're already here. We have plenty of water, and we don't need that much water. We have the infrastructure that's here. We have the talent base that's here. This is a perfect opportunity for Delaware to strike. And with my experience in chemical manufacturing and the third revenue line that we have, it's a perfect time for us to bring affordable and profitable clean hydrogen to the United States.
So the hydrogen is used on refining and the steel making, fuel cells, and long haul transport. So this is the ships coming from China, I guess, right? The long transport, or the planes.
I don't. Eventually, it could be used for. I think eventually it will be used for trucks. Eventually, it will be used for planes. I think trucks are closer. Buses are right here. DART is going to start a pilot program, but the world uses 97 million metric tons of hydrogen every year. It's a lot of times it's used in refining and cement and other chemical manufacturing aspects. So hydrogen can be used as packaged energy, which is the future of what Delaware should capitalize on. But today, it's used as a molecule in refining.
From the Clean Energy Initiative standpoint, is Delaware the most suitable or one of the better states?
No. No, Delaware is not.
I was waiting for the yes, but okay.
Oh, sorry.
Then your challenge becomes bigger if that's not the case.
Right, because we take a look around how much Delaware produces less energy than any other state in the nation. This is a fact, and we're also part of the PJM grid. So how are we going to solve that? This can be part of that solution in the future. When you look around at the amount of solar we have, it's not enough. We have one land-based windmill in this state. So we have our work cut out for us. But if we're able to do this right, within 10 or 15 years, we can turn Delaware from a net importer of energy, very bad one, to a net exporter. 5149 is that. So there are certainly challenges here, but we're kind of in a green energy desert.
I see. Now, this is all starting with the climate change. I guess this is becoming a more kind of hot topic. So earlier, and for those who may not actually know this, we never met in person, first time I got an email from you was yesterday about today's time and the location. So we probably have crossed paths in the past in some different, like Delaware is a small state, but we don't know each other. So, and therefore we don't really know how opinionated we are in certain things. And this climate change is one of the things that I still feel like I may be still opinionated. I say opinionated purposely, deliberately, because I don't think we have really good understanding of the issue, and then it's very politicized, and people are just making, whatever spin they want to put. If you are a Democrat, it's one way. If it's a Republican, it's another way. So, and I have done my own research a little bit. We did cover this with Governor Carney that time, I think 2 years ago. And he and we had some similar points, which was kind of actually surprising that time. I thought he would be more on the other side. So now I'm going to come back to the hydrogen, but if we go to the climate change a little bit, because of the climate change, this thing is more important. Is that true? Like the hydrogen?
I think so, yes.
So can we actually, do you think there is a way to kind of disconnect this as a business model? And I think that's one of the things that I believe your company perhaps will be able to do, regardless of the climate. If this can become a business model and it's profitable, and if it's affordable, then automatically this becomes an alternative.
Absolutely.
Right. So then you don't need politicians to just go out there and then just yell at people, but knowing that climate change, we have this really simplistic way of saying that, hey, one day is 107, next day is 70, so then it cannot be all bad. So like last night was pretty nice, actually. It was cool. So and climate change is not about just one day to the other, but knowing that every country needs to be equally doing things together. And one of the issues that I have with the whole concept of the climate change and the approach that countries have, especially more developed countries like US and some European countries versus like India and China and Pakistan and Bangladesh, like the life is totally different in those places. So the priorities are extremely different. So when someone is trying to find clean water or just water itself, versus we are trying to tell them, now you have to be you have to do X, Y, Z to have a better climate, so then we can have a better future. How are you going to bring those people all together? And then you cannot put walls between the countries, so whatever they do from one side, it can offset what you are doing on this side. So that's why there are some issues that I still have. But I was trying to, figure out a way to say that, okay, from a business side, if this is a business and if it can become, if the scale is enough to make this profitable on its own, then automatically it can become an alternative. So now, do you think that's what's going to happen? And will we see that in our lifetime? How is that going to happen?
If I have my way, you're absolutely going to see it in your lifetime. You're probably going to see it in the next 4 or 5 years. And that's the speed that Delaware can bring. So I'll look at when the governments try and regulate technology that's not ready to launch, the citizens end up paying that penalty. And I'm going to simplify this, and I'm happy to be challenged by anybody, but the California resident pays 25 to 30 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity because of electricity policies that have regulated out standard ways to be able to make electricity. And of course we want to be clean. That's coming to Delaware, and that's what we want to solve. But I'm chasing a fundamental law of nature. I'm not chasing green for the sake of green. I call our project Green Squared. Green for dollars and profit, but also green because, by the way, it's clean. Hydrogen burns with 3 times, by mass, hydrogen burns with 3 times the energy of carbon-based fuels. That's what I'm interested in. That we can monetize. I don't think there's any such thing as an energy transition. There's only energy addition. And so that's that opportunity.
And what's the biggest misconception about the hydrogen industry?
I think the biggest misconception that I've found moving up and down the state is that it's new. Hydrogen's not new. We have standards, ISO 14687, or maybe it's 14678. I might have flipped my numbers there. But hydrogen's not new. We use it. We know how to move it. We know how to make it. We have off-takers. So all we're bringing that's different is a new, clean, and safe way to make it. The second thing people want to know is they say hydrogen, and if hydrogen is not new, the other thing they think about is the Hindenburg. Right? So I promise not to fly any blimps over Delaware. Right? That being said, safety standards are in place. So it's not new. 97 million metric tons are used every year. There's 1,600 miles of hydrogen pipeline on the American Gulf Coast.
So it's not new.
It's not new.
What about the expensive part? That's not a misconception. That is still the case.
The way other people are making hydrogen is expensive. Now, I think it's the gray hydrogen is a commodity and is a pretty low price, $2 or $3 a kilo. I think I don't recall right now, but around that range. I'll look at a pilot program that Toyota has with their Toyota Mirai out in Vancouver and in California. Hydrogen costs about $16 out there. That's not viable. That's not a viable business model. Now, you might be able to go 400 miles on a Toyota Mirai, but at $16 a kilo, that's way too expensive. We have a business plan with or without government subsidies that we can sell this for $5 to $6 a kilo in Delaware.
From the simple terms, I told you in the beginning, when I don't know the topic, I pay more attention to what the guest is saying. So this is one of those. Now, the energy has to be some form, right? So it's going to be whatever we are using, natural oil, the regular oil, the fossil fuel. So all those different things, and the hydrogen is now the alternative to one of these as an energy itself, right? So it's like let's say for the plane or the cars, instead of like being gasoline, it can be electric, but now it can be also hydrogen. And I'm not saying that cars are ready yet, although
Toyota's ready.
Like actually, Hyundai as well. So that there are two of them, but they're expensive. So they're twice more expensive than the regular cars, apparently.
I'll have to look into that. I thought the price was reasonable.
My point, though, is like just so that I'm also educating myself by taking advantage of you being here. So this is now already used.
Yes.
Now, the way that it's being produced is kind of like the problem, right? Because like 41% is from fossil fuel, and the 42% is from the natural gas, and then the 16% is the coal. So then the part on the renewable side, where this becomes, because we want hydrogen, so let's just again go back to the basics from my side. So remember, this is my 101 hydrogen. We want hydrogen because the way that it's harming the environment is a lot less than anything else. How do we get to the hydrogen is the problem, because right now we are not getting it from clean or inexpensive places. Just with these percentages, almost 42, 41, that's 83, 16, 99% is coming from really dirty places right now. So I think one of the goals that your company and you have, correct me if I'm wrong, can we actually make this green, which would be coming from the renewable, the hydrogen can be produced from the renewable energy. That's why you mentioned the windmills and the others. So that's
correct. There's just one small little adjustment is that we look at clean hydrogen, so we would consider nuclear as well, and because that's very low carbon footprint, and that's what we need to do. And I think the other traditional ways of making hydrogen need to continue on until businesses like ours have a responsible and truly sustainable, not just sustainable for the environment, but sustainable for an economy, so that you're not charging other people, the citizens, a lot more money, that you have a truly sustainable, low-priced option for hydrogen.
Sure. So now, from the community engagement and public dialogue standpoint, because it's kind of requiring government subsidy at this point, at least.
Other people's company are.
Yeah. So, but because it's new and, well, kind of now you corrected that, it's a misconception, but still new to many people. And there are a lot of, again, people like myself, opinionated. So Aternium has done a lot of outreach to these. So how are you communicating with these people? And I'm hoping that this conversation, today's session, would be another tool for you for the future conversation. But how are you doing that right now, and what are you telling them?
I start off by talking to everybody. I'm very excited about the project, but I have a responsibility, like I did at Adesis, a responsibility to communicate with the neighborhoods and the communities that we want to build in, and kind of ask for permission and an invite to be able to go and build there. So I like to describe the project. I like to talk about relationships that we can have, not just building a company there, but what other effects can we have around there. So I was so pleased when I saw 150,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube. This is great to get the message out. It's amazing. I'll take any speaking engagement. I'll bring the food. I'll sit down one-on-one with anybody who wants to talk about this. We write white papers, and they're on our website. We're constantly trying to talk to anybody that we can. And so thank you for that.
Of course. What are the top concerns that you hear from them?
Safety and jobs. People in Delaware want to hear about jobs. They want to see a new opportunity. And are we going to be able to bring that? Because there's so many different companies here who are just kind of perhaps going right through Indian River and bypassing the economic growth in Delaware. We've had a lot of great traction and support from Sussex County. And I think that's where we can build some of our biggest plants to be able to now service not just up to New York from northern and central Delaware, but down to Baltimore, DC, and Virginia. So they want to see economic growth, and they want to know about safety.
And how do you addressing these, like, proactively? Is that already happening?
I'm sorry, I didn't
how do you addressing these proactively?
No, I'm not going to sneak up on anybody. I share the safety concerns on what we're doing. We talk about some of the AI, machine learning, and the process controls that we've signed a MOU with Honeywell on, so that we're ahead of the leaks. We're ahead of any of the standards. We're telling everybody the standards that we will follow. We're designing our plants from the very start with partners like Siemens Energy and Honeywell to have safety, compliance, and only then delivery.
So now we talk about the policy, subsidies, and being independent of a business. Now, at the current point today, do you need any government subsidy to be successful?
We do not need government subsidies to be successful. With or without it, we will go forward. But I can tell you, there's no better company and no more established entrepreneur who knows better how to deploy any government funds that we may get. So we'll take the support for sure, and we'll be able to spin that, flywheel that into a lot more economic growth. But we are profitable without the tax credits. We're profitable without any of the subsidies.
So with the political landscape, the changes on the administration, is that affecting what's happening with your business? Like on the healthcare side, I can tell you right now, so far it didn't, but potentially it may. Some of the decisions that's been made has some potential to impact what we do day to day in healthcare. Is that similar to yours?
Well, sure. The change in administration has affected us. And believe it or not, it's been advantageous for us. One, a lot of the confusion that's out there has left a lot of the other companies off on the sidelines. But we have a very focused mission. And we have a mission, again, that's independent of any tax subsidies. I'm not saying we won't take them. I have a fiduciary to my investors to take them and deploy them properly. But we are able to put a lot of distance between us and the crowd because of that. Secondly, when we're working with the DOE, or any other government entity, they have a stronger focus on profitability without the tax credits. They won't look at that. So that has weeded out a lot of what I call the green energy welfare companies. We are not a green energy welfare company. We are a for-profit company that's going to bring some of the lowest price hydrogen and revolutionize Delaware. And by the way, I think Delaware needs to catch on to this. Delaware is not sitting on reserves of oil. We're not sitting on reserves of coal or natural gas. Delaware is sitting on and centrally located, sitting on reserves of water, which is prepackaged energy, if we can get it right.
Right. So no, I actually, I do have a lot of concerns recently with what's happening in our state. With some of the changes that's happening with the corporate legal and how we handle those. And we lost a couple of the big companies like Tesla. And Delaware has to create its own niche, which we thought we have. And I'm a little bit worried about what's happening right now because we want to stay as the safe harbor for corporations, and also any new businesses that's going to be any like yours and others that needs the business support requires business-oriented state. So I'm hoping that we will get to that. I'm usually more optimistic on this one, but I'll just leave it.
I think that's why as entrepreneurs, you and I need to be part of that solution, part of the people who are going to go out and solve that. I think that niche that we created was created in 1981 with Governor Pete DuPont's Financial Services Act. And I see this with a lot of companies who are successful. That's why as entrepreneurs, we need to keep our edge. Delaware has lost its edge, but we have a great opportunity. And with the hydrogen area, I look at there's 5 energy sectors of the United States. 4 of those energy sectors are net importers of energy. But that 5th one exports so much energy that it swings the entire United States into a net exporter of energy, and that's the Gulf Coast. Now let's look at those parallels of what we can do as an economic opportunity in Delaware. We can be with the cleanliness, of course, like we don't want that, but we can be the Gulf Coast of clean hydrogen from the resource that we have most abundant, which is our water and our talent.
Right, and I think we are in the best position for that. Like being small comes with some benefits. It's not always the other way around. So then it's one of the things that we can move very fast. And state the tradition is already business oriented. So then it will support new businesses. And if this is something that's again making this alternative, making it affordable, making this for what we have, like one of the what I was saying in the opening, sustainable health we talk about, and then this was one of my speeches that I give at this event. And sustainability is the main kind of like term that's kind of defining how we live. So we can do a lot of things if you don't care about what's happening next day. So just like our parents, they didn't think they were going to live. They were going to see their 80s and their 82s, 84s. So my dad, he's 84, and I remember him, talking to us in the old days that he didn't think he was going to live this long. So his dad died at age 63. So that kind of set up a low threshold for us, but it was a different problem. But now he's 84, he's healthy. But what we have seen, I'm just using this as an analogy, what we have seen is once he was done with his full-time responsibilities, not knowing how much time he had, he didn't plan for that. So the sustainability is one of the ways that understanding is like, can we do this long-term? Can we do this for next generations? And that's why sustainable energy, sustainable environment, sustainable health, this becomes extremely important. And always the cost becomes, even in healthcare, it becomes a problem. Like, for example, the current healthcare system is based on the decisions were made in 50s, 60s. Like our CMS Medicare system is not up to date, and that's why actually it's on a huge deficit, because we in the 60s people didn't think that they were going to live so long, or they needed certain procedures after age 70, so then they didn't pay for it. Right? So
Right.
who paid for it is us now, because we are paying more in taxes to cover that deficit. And the idea is, can we actually change we have to approach this with new tools, because this problem is new. Now, I say problem in a different way. This is a good problem. I want my parents to live until they're 100. Or I want to have, like, I live in a place where my backyard is all green in terms of the trees. Now, I'm sure it's not all green on the structural side, but I created this thing. It's my little heaven. But then you go to next door. If that's not at the same standard, then it's not going to be. It's going to be limited with what one person or one company is doing. So that's kind of the main thing that we want to make sure that people understand. All these efforts and new businesses is for better tomorrows.
And that's why I think that's a beautiful relation to our name. Our name is from the Latin root Aeternum, which means eternal or sustainable. And so many people think about sustainable as for the environment. And of course, we're thinking like that. But I'm reading a book now called Lincoln and a Team of Rivals. And he talks about the meritocracy and the opportunity in this country to be able to lift your stature through different levels by a meritocracy. And that sustainability is profitability. And that's what we have. Now, when I look neighbor-wise, because pollution doesn't have borders, it moves around the earth unbiasedly. The leader of clean and green hydrogen today is China. And the future leader of clean and green hydrogen will be Saudi Arabia. So now we have to take a step back. Why is the coal capital of the world in China and the oil capital of the world of Saudi Arabia chasing down hydrogen? Because they know that fact, that law of nature that I said from the very beginning. By mass, hydrogen is 3 times as powerful as carbon-based fuels. And when we learn how to apply it, that's coming. So this is an opportunity for the United States and for Delaware to lead the way, because there is a problem with the engineering right now. Right now, it takes more. This is what people worry about. Mm-hmm. It takes more, and they should worry about it. It takes more energy to make hydrogen the way I want to make it, mm-hmm. than the hydrogen will produce itself. So why am I here? Right. Why am I profitable? Mm-hmm. And why are we able to do this at a lower cost?
Because you find a way to make this more efficient.
That's what That's what entrepreneurs do, right? We solve the chicken and egg problem. Right. That's exactly what we do.
Right. So now, do you find again, I'm going to use examples from healthcare. So if I don't follow what's happening in our state Senate and the House, next day you wake up with decisions that they made on healthcare. Now, most of them are my friends, and I work with these guys, so they would understand that I'm not really trying to insult them. But I don't want to have a CPA making a decision on assisted suicide without having doctors on the team. But in Delaware or in any other state in the United States, you'll find that. So, and that decision already passed and is signed by the governor. Now, John Carney didn't sign it. The new governor signed it. So, but this decision is made by a CPA, certified public accountant. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of people watching from Turkey, so I have to kind of spell out certain things. Yes. So, it sounds kind of unfair, and then you're like, why is this happening? That's usually not the approach that I take. So if I know what the system is, we need to figure out how we can actually incorporate what we have with them, so then they understand that we are in this game. So then they also engage us early on, which has been happening. But again, so you see one person have one personal issue with something in healthcare, and then boom, I'm going to write a bill about this. So we are like, oh, like I ask our doctors, can you prescribe this medication? And I believe 65% said absolutely no. So now I use the term assisted suicide deliberately. There's a nicer term that the CPA had, and he was on the show, so like 2 years ago. So I'm not gonna, like I'm sure he's gonna come back at some point. So, but I'm not comfortable with that. But at the same time, I know that if I cannot change this, I need to make sure that we play the game with their rules. So then we are now more engaged. So do you see those issues with your industry as well?
Absolutely. It infuriates me. Well, let me start off with that. No, it infuriates me when leaders, elected or not, are listening to pseudoscientists or people who don't even have a science degree or took one course in it. This is something that I've been living for a quarter of a century and studying for even longer than that. And Delaware doesn't listen, nor should Delaware listen to my opinion on corporate law. Delaware and the rest of the state should listen on the scientists that we have in this state about science. That being said, we still have a responsibility, like you're doing on the healthcare side and like I'm doing on the science side. That if I want a voice, then I have to step forward. I have to put the work in, and you and I need to go around and talk to our legislators, which you and I are both doing, and we need to also talk to the communities and the citizens there to see if, when I want to build, see if they want us. And so we have that responsibility.
So for your potential customers in the industry, what do you tell them? What's your advice to them to reduce their carbon footprints? So what's your message to those potential customers?
It's smart business for you. It's smart business because we offer a local and low cost supply of clean hydrogen, or we will offer that. As far as convincing companies about the responsibility to clean and green, a lot of them outside of what our state is doing, like for instance, House Bill 99, a 50% reduction of emissions by 2030, 100% by 2050. Outside of that, a lot of these companies are progressive and they have these statutes in place already. So we actually help them. It's smart business because we help them achieve their goals, and we can help them achieve their goals with a lower cost, provided that they're using hydrogen as a molecule. And eventually, when the engineering problem solved, which it will be in about 10 or 15 years, you can use it as energy.
Well, these were my questions. Kind of like I feel like I have a better idea today than I had yesterday. So I did do some prep, and I tried to kind of really understand the root of the problem, and then see why this would be even a discussion point for others who agree or disagree. But then you take the game, you are changing the game and saying that, look, this is a business model. So you support it, you don't support it. We believe this is good from the science standpoint, and we'll make this more affordable, and we'll make this more accessible and less expensive. And that's all people are looking for anyway. Now, you have some other businesses that you started, or I don't know if it was part of the Adesis before with is it OLED?
I didn't start OLED.
Okay.
OLED actually purchased Adesis.
Is it okay? So that was like I was watching one of your other interviews. So it's everything on the displays, like on our phones and iPads and screen. That's the system.
That's every color in your OLED display was licensed or owned by Universal Display. They're traded on the NASDAQ as OLED. That's the company on July 11, 2016, who purchased Adesis.
I see.
Okay. And so Adesis was doing manufacturing of those key compounds in the United States. While everybody else was going to India and China, we're doing that. Adesis was doing that key manufacturing here. And so a lot of those materials work their way into our watches, our phones, our OLED TVs, and any displays. And I think, because of that, and this is why Delaware is a great place. Universal Display is based in New Jersey. When UDC bought us, we were 38, 39 people. We grew, Adesis grew to near 190 people, all in the state of Delaware, because of the speed at which Delaware can move. That's the advantage. And that's the same advantage from the manufacturing side, from the talent side, from our raw material resource side. That's the advantage that Aternium is trying to capture.
I see. Anything you would like to add before we close?
First, two things. Thank you so much for doing this. Community outreach and talking about hydrogen is so important because it's new to people. And I want to make sure we do that responsibility our responsibility to get out there. Secondly, Delaware has got to see that this is an economic opportunity to really grow here, to leverage our location on the Mid-Atlantic, the industry around us, and the water behind us. So it's a call to action for the state and the residents to get behind Aternium.
And I believe we'll see that. And for us to, from outside of your industry, for us to understand and then make sure that other people can understand by watching us, hopefully, we can actually help you to deliver that message. But I really appreciate you joining us in the studio today. Your vision, your approach actually is really important. And every time I meet with other entrepreneurs, and I have a lot of friends, they're close friends. It's kind of what makes me going. So with what I'm doing, because I know that others are trying at the same level that I am, maybe in different industries, but the approach have a lot of similarities, and that always helps me to kind of reassure what I'm doing and then try even better. And then part of your industry is and what you are doing with your current business. I think that's the future. And maybe 10 years from now, when people watch this episode, they're going to be like, why were they talking about this? Because this is going to be so common and it's going to be everywhere. So, hopefully people also find this helpful and they can follow us. So we'll see you next time. And we have our next event at 3 p.m. with Dr. Erkan with Bariatric Friday. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you, and until then, stay united. Bye-bye. There, so you can let me know when it's time.